The Office of Climate Change has changed to an authority this year. What that means, we talked to the Acting Managing Director of Climate Change and Development Authority, Joe Pokana. Joe Pokana, let's start again. Thank you for coming on to the program, PNG Tonight. The Office of Climate Change in Papua New Guinea, it's changed to an authority now. Can we begin by just explaining how that change came about?
The Office of Climate Change came about through an NEC decision that there should be an office that coordinates all the government's effort to address the climate change issue here in Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
Over the course of the last 5 years, the Office of Climate Change staff have been working very hard to come up with a policy. And it took us 4 years to actually draft the policy, do the consultation, and get it through the cabinet for endorsement.
Okay.
And then upon the policy formulation, we move on to address or draft the Climate Change Act,
Okay.
which is now called the Climate Change and Management Act. And given the act that has been passed through the parliament unopposed in the July sitting last year, we were able to get it through the different legal process through the clerk of parliament, the speaker of parliament, and then
So all the
just
process is in
recently,
place,
yeah,
okay.
just recently it came. The Governor General, Acting Governor General, signed the commencement of operation, which meant it gave effect to the new Climate Change and Development Authority.
When did that come into force?
On the 1st of January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an authority now.
Yeah.
What are things that you can do now as an authority that you might not have as an office?
It gives us more power to address the climate change and work among other stakeholders who are also working on climate change. We coordinate more effectively. That means we're also changing from a policy approach to a more commercial approach. And we will start charging sectors who are producing more greenhouse gas and all those. So we are changing our mindset a bit to do a bit more fundraising and all those. And we'll be coming out very shortly to make our way to all the sectors that will be affected and to align themselves with our act and make sure they are prepared to give us money if they are found wanting.
Breaching.
Breaching the. So there are a lot of different sectors that will be affected, but we have been working along together in a what we call a whole of government approach, and they know that they will be affected as well. So
Okay. So where are we at now with this problem of climate change? Compare us with another country, a developing country like Papua New Guinea. Where are we at now, and what do we need to do? What do we need to learn?
I think the science was really clear. We have an international organization called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They are the ones that provide all the scientific information for the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And their fifth report clearly showed that if we don't do anything, the world will get worse on the impact of climate change. So there's mainly two components that we have to look at. One is our adaptation to climate change. We have to build the capacity of our community to deal with the impact of climate change. And two, we need to also help the world to mitigate or slow down the producing of greenhouse gas.
Do we need to do it, or do advanced countries need to do it? Because they're responsible for the problem in the first place.
Yes, we only have one well and all of us live in it. So if we don't do anything, we still will be affected. And we like to also show them that we are doing something so that we can receive financial help to help us build our capacity. If we don't do anything, why should they come and help us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, let's get on to that a little bit. The developed countries have contributed. I think they parked some money, some 100 billion US dollars.
That's what it's called the Conference of Parties decided that there should be a green climate fund somewhere that can bring all these funds together so that the developing country can have access to that fund.
Do we have access to it?
Yes, we do.
How much do we get?
It depends on how much we're asking.
How much are we asking?
Really, we have not asked anything yet because we want to make sure that we have a legal framework in place and it's conducive before we start getting those funds, because we don't want it to come here and we are not ready and we'll misuse the fund and all those. So we are really careful in how we want to address receiving those funds and to have tangible effect in the community as well.
Okay, misuse might be, yes, it's an arguable case here, but there's some concerns that the funds will come through, but it'll be followed by their own expertise and consultants, and the money becomes boomerang money.
I think under the new Climate Change and Management Act, we have specified what it needs to be done to use the money, how we get the money, and how do we use it. So I think it's very clear there on how we build our capacity to deal with those climate financing.
Okay, at home, it's interesting when you say industries that are guilty, which are guilty of emissions, can be fined. Just elaborate that a little bit further for the benefit of industry people.
Yes, I think in our current act, it just stipulated those sectors that or industry that will be producing greenhouse gas will be asked to pay something. The next step to the Climate Change Act is to develop the regulation, and the regulation will help us now on how much we are going to charge, which sectors are we going to charge, and all those. So we have to be, we are doing that because we have to.
How do you measure that? Do you have the capacity to measure how much emission is being pumped out by a certain company, things like that? Do we have the capacity to measure that?
Yeah, a lot of industry have their own mechanism that measures the greenhouses, and we are working closely with them. If we need support, then we will find support either in the country or outside of the country. So I think for the last 5-6 years, we have been trying to find out our capacity, and we have some capacity, but we still need a lot of capacity building from outside of the country as well.
Most Pacific Island countries, we are part of the Pacific region, see Papua New Guinea as a leader in this, in terms of bigger conferences like Paris or Copenhagen or whatever that we had, or Kyoto. How can we demonstrate to the Pacific Island countries about our leadership and what we are doing so that the region goes in as a force?
Yeah, my experience is the Pacific Island countries look at PNG as a leader, and given our position as the Pacific Island Forum chair, we have demonstrated in the current just finished Paris Agreement COP, we were able to speak on behalf of the region as well. So we spoke on our importance of forests, our loss and damage, adaptation, climate financing. So we were able to attract a lot of attention, and like US has already came out and said, okay, we'll give you 30 million US to start off with for the Pacific. But I think for us, that's not big enough. Coming from one of the biggest country in the world, I think they should do more.
And responsible for a lot of the problems.
Yes.
All right, okay, we're running out of time. What does the ordinary man on the street in the village of Papua New Guinea need to know about climate change and its effects?
For the community of PNG, we really need to know that science has told us that climate change is true, and the impact, I think a lot of communities around the coastal area, islands, and also inland, that you have seen the impact of it. Sea level rise is one, drop in food crops yield, all those, and then we just recently have the El Nino effect. Those are part and parcel of what climate change can do. And I know all of us know the impact, but we don't know what it is, and now we are telling you it's about climate change, because climate change is for a longer period of time, and weather is for a short period of time. So there'll be more if we don't do anything. The science have told us that if we don't do anything now, the temperature will rise by 6 degrees Celsius. And if it is raised by 6 degrees Celsius towards the end of the century, we'll be affected adversely.
Yeah,
so
but
we
right
want to avoid that by doing our own contribution. You can help us by moving away from the shore. You know that there will be sea sedge and all those. Build your house up on the hill, avoid and stop cutting trees.
Yeah.
If you are making garden, just a small area you can do to produce your own food and all those. So there's something that we can do as an individual, but the government, I think the government is really responsible now. We have the political will, and they are putting money and setting up the office, build a policy, and I think we are ready now to receive funds to help us build our own resilience to climate change.
And the authority will take it a step
Yes.
further from there. All right, we're running out of time. Joe Pocana, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins, for having us here at your show.
Joe Pocana talking to us there. This is PNG Tonight. Coming up, the transformation of the Maria House.